Stephen has been in a relationship with Rachel for 18 months, and it's become a dynamic of self-sacrifice and preemptive rejection. Stephen loves Rachel, but his negative inflation has transformed this love into something distorted and destructive. He doesn't experience his love as a gift. He experiences it as a burden Rachel is forced to endure. He continuously apologizes for his existence in the relationship, tells her she'd be better off without him, suggests she should leave him before he drags her down further. Rachel, confused and hurt by these constant expressions of self-hatred, tries to tell Stephen that she values him, that she wants to be with him, but Stephen can't receive this reassurance in any integrated way. Instead, his negative inflation interprets her kindness as pity, her stay as obligation, her love as patience with an inferior being. He tells her she should leave him, not from a place of genuine desire for her happiness, but from a twisted conviction that staying with him is cosmic punishment she eventually regrets. Tonight, Rachel wants to spend a quiet evening together. Stephen immediately begins a cycle of anxious self-questioning. She seems quiet. Is she angry with him? She's probably tired of him. She's definitely going to leave him soon. He's probably already ruining her evening just by being here. Every moment of normal companionship is filtered through his negative inflation into catastrophe, abandonment, proof of his fundamental unworthiness to be loved. When they're physically intimate, Stephen's negative inflation prevents him from ever being fully present. He's constantly monitoring Rachel's face for signs of disgust or disappointment. He's internally narrating how inadequate he's being, how she deserves someone better, how his presence in her bed is probably tolerable only because she loves him out of pity. He cannot simply be with her. He can only be against himself, using the relationship as evidence of his cosmic doom. After intimacy, while Rachel is sleeping beside him, Stephen lies awake in a state of what feels like spiritual crisis. The negative inflation is telling him that he doesn't deserve this happiness, that suffering is his role, that waking tomorrow will bring the catastrophe his positive evening has delayed. He's not anxious in the normal sense. He's existentially certain that good things can only precede bad things in his life, because that the cosmic balance he designated to maintain. Rachel has begun to notice that no matter what she does, it's never enough to counter Stephen's self-hatred. When she tries to be supportive, he interprets it as enabling of his unworthiness. When she tries to create boundaries, he experiences it as confirmation that she can't stand him. When she simply tries to be present, he's consumed by guilt about burdening her. The relationship is becoming exhausting, not because Stephen is behaving badly, but because his negative inflation has made him unable to receive love or accept basic human worth. Stephen frequently tells Rachel things like, "I don't know why you stay with me," or "I'm holding you back from your real potential," or "You deserve someone who isn't a complete failure." Rachel has tried repeatedly to counter these statements, to affirm Stephen's worth, to express that she values him. But this reinforcement only confirms to Stephen that Rachel is either delusional about his true nature or is engaged in some cosmic act of self-sacrifice alongside him. The negative inflation cannot accept being loved because the fundamental belief is that he's unlovable. Stephen's negative inflation is beginning to manifest in concrete, self-destructive behavior. Not the explosive kind, like Gabriel's group members engaging in cult dynamics, but the slow, grinding kind of someone actively confirming their cosmically damned status through deliberate failure. He started to miss work occasionally, showing up late, making small errors that he believes confirm his incompetence. When his boss expresses concern, Stephen experiences it not as feedback, but as cosmic acknowledgement of what he already knows. He's begun to withdraw from Rachel more noticeably. He finds reasons to sleep in another room. He cancels plans they'd made. He's not doing this consciously to hurt her, but because the negative inflation is telling him that his withdrawal is actually an act of mercy. She'll be better off without his presence. The less he inflicts himself on her, the better. He's begun to frame his withdrawal as service to her, rather than recognizing it as self-sabotage. Stephen's friends have started to notice the pattern. One friend, Marcus, tries to talk to him about what he's observing. Stephen seems to be pulling away, seems to be stuck in a negative loop of self-criticism, seems to be making choices that hurt himself. Marcus is expressing genuine concern. Stephen's negative inflation receives this as confirmation that he's noticeably defective, visibly broken, apparently a burden to those around him. Marcus's caring concern becomes proof of Stephen's unworthiness, requiring care. Stephen starts having thoughts about death, but not in the form of active suicidal ideation. It's more like the conviction that death would be a fitting end for someone like him, that the universe would be more balanced if he simply ceased to exist. He doesn't make plans to harm himself, but he becomes increasingly reckless. He drives carelessly. He skips his health appointments. He neglects his basic needs. The negative inflation is slowly turning him into an instrument of his own self-destruction. Watch what happens when something good actually occurs. Stephen's company offers him a promotion. This should be good news. But Stephen's negative inflation immediately creates a narrative where this is actually catastrophe disguised as opportunity. He's going to fail at the new position. He'll be exposed as incompetent. The company will eventually realize they made a mistake promoting him, and the humiliation will be worse than his current obscurity. He turns down the promotion, telling his boss he's not ready, that someone else deserves it more, that he works best in his current position. His boss is bewildered. Everyone knows Stephen is capable of more. But Stephen's negative inflation won't allow upward movement. Movement means contradicting the cosmic order that's placed him in this position. Suffering and failure are his role, and any attempt to transcend them is met with immediate self-sabotage. He actively creates scenarios where he confirms his fundamental doom. It's not that things go wrong for Stephen. Stephen, possessed by negative inflation, ensures that things go wrong because that's what the archetype requires. Rachel notices that Stephen seems to be deliberately creating distance, deliberately failing at things he could succeed at, deliberately arranging his life to confirm his conviction of worthlessness. She tries once more to reach him, to tell him that she sees someone worthy, despite his negative convictions, that his life has value. Stephen looks at her with something like pity and says, "You're seeing something that isn't there. I've accepted what I am. You should too." The negative inflation has become so complete that Rachel's love no longer reaches him. She becomes part of the tragic narrative he's living, another character in the cosmic drama of his inevitable doom. 6 months later, Stephen has become nearly invisible at work. He's shown up, done his job quietly, and avoided any interaction that might require him to present himself as competent or worthy. His boss is concerned about his performance deteriorating. His friends have largely stopped reaching out because their attempts to support him are invariably received as confirming his unworthiness. Rachel has moved out, still loving Stephen, but unable to sustain a relationship with someone determined to reject love. Stephen now spends his evenings alone, and there's a kind of grim peace in this isolation. Not the peace of actual contentment, but the peace of having his negative inflation finally confirmed. He is alone, he is isolated. His relationships have failed. His career has stalled. The universe has arranged things exactly as it should be, according to his cosmic role. What once felt like struggle now feels like acceptance. He's surrendered to what he believes is his destiny. He's developed an elaborate internal mythology about his negative role. He's the one who absorbs suffering so others can flourish. He's the sacrifice required to maintain cosmic balance. He's the scapegoat carrying the darkness so the rest of the world can remain light. This mythology, born from the negative inflation, provides him with a strange kind of purpose. His suffering isn't meaningless. It's cosmically necessary. This thought brings a perverse comfort that genuine meaning never could. Watch Stephen on a Friday night, scrolling through social media and seeing his friends' accomplishments, their travels, their celebrations. To normal perception, these might trigger envy or sadness. To Stephen, in negative inflation, they trigger cosmic confirmation. Of course, they're succeeding. They're not cursed like him. Of course, they're happy. The universe didn't designate them for suffering. He feels almost grateful for this evidence that at least the world is functioning according to cosmic law. His suffering serves a purpose. It maintains the order. He's considered seeking therapy or professional help, but the negative inflation won't allow it. Getting help would be resisting his nature. It would be fighting against the cosmic order. It would be refusing his designated role. So he remains isolated, increasingly disconnected from the possibility that his perception might be distorted, that his conviction of cosmic doom might be psychological pathology rather than truth. The negative inflation has completely closed him off from any perspective that would challenge his core belief. Rachel sends him a message asking if he's okay. She's genuinely concerned because she hasn't heard from him in weeks. Stephen reads the message and experiences it as Rachel's final confirmation that she cares, which makes him feel more burdened by her care than touched by it. He doesn't respond, not out of malice, but because responding would require him to either accept her concern or cause her pain by rejecting it. Isolation feels like the most ethical choice available to someone as cursed as he believes himself to be.